Marketing and selling is essential in your online business. And when you have the right strategies and mindset, you not only can make a lot of money, but you can change a lot of lives. Welcome to the Online Marketing Podcast, where we help course creators, membership owners, and coaches market and sell their offers.
We're your hosts, Paul and Melissa Pruitt. Let's dive in and get started.
Today, we're jamming on the 6 phases of the launch conversation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 phases?
6 phases.
What I love about this is you said conversation. And that's where I think a lot of people mess up. They just go from like, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, you want to buy a watch? Or you want to marry me? Hey, stranger danger, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely don't want that happening. We really want our launch to feel like a conversation.
Yeah, and in a natural conversation, you get to know people. You have different conversations with different people. Think about it like your family members at home, you have different rapport with them, right? So you're going to have a different type of conversation. You probably act a little differently too, right?
Probably just a little bit, depending on who you're talking to.
And then we go to work. You know, if you've been in the traditional work environment in the past, you probably act a certain different way compared to like your family members. And then you have your friends that you hang out with all the time. You're in different type of rapport, right? So you have different conversations with them. What happens a lot of times, though, is people get on somebody's email list. You're list building, you're getting people in, you want to launch your promotion, put a product out there, but we kind of like have the same conversation the entire time.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit crazy.
It's crazy. And it also doesn't feel personal. You don't feel as connected. I mean, have you ever received that email from someone and just kind of, you just feel like another like number on their list that they're trying to reach out to? It doesn't feel personal. So we really want to try to speak to each person on our list individually as much as we can.
Yeah. How many emails we get like Black Friday every year? People we haven't heard from like all year long. It's like, oh my goodness, like they are just trying to sell us something.
That's the hi, nice to meet you, buy a watch right there.
You know, and it's like stranger danger, right? So what we want to do is we do want to talk about the launch conversation. This is where so many people mess up because they want to put a product or service out in the world and they go from 0 to like 150 miles an hour in like 2.3 seconds, right? And this is where we lose a lot of people, and we want to slowly guide people into that conversation because those of you that follow us, you know, like there is, you know, we talk about the buyer's journey. We also talk about our marketer's map, and we're going to overlay those two things and give you a little bit of detail here where there's 6 phases. You want to jam in on the first one?
Yeah. So the first phase is the pre-launch.
Pre. Okay, so what is the pre-launch? Like, what will we talk about in that phase? Maybe it's like this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. These are conversations. So in the pre-launch, this is essentially where you're speaking into topics that your audience might be interested in. And again, remember, like we've been talking about with all of our list builders, the purpose of a list builder activity is really to bridge into your offer. So what are those conversations that are going to bridge into your offer?
Yeah, and this is your ongoing conversation, you know, that's leading in. You're like bringing the awareness of like what your product or service is or the conversation that's going to guide people into that. But then you're going to get closer into the pre-launch. Now, in this pre-launch phase, this is where you're really going to line up. Like, for instance, for us with our ads challenge, right? That's like our launch, right? We want to get people into it, right? So we start doing lead magnets. We start doing conversations into building up the interest to getting into that pre-launch. So it's like, when is it? When's it starting? Can I get in? You know, can I basically raise their hand like, hey, let me in the door. Are you guys open yet? Let me in the door. I
think the pre-launch phase really just a great way to think about it. It's a curiosity phase. It's really where you're getting people curious about it and you're having those conversations that are just going to naturally have people are like, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. And then you have the actual launch itself. You know, that could be defined as like a webinar series. It could be a training, like a video series. That could be a challenge. That could be a summit. Like there's so many different modalities, different vehicles as far as doing the actual launch itself, right? And after that, though, it's like we bring people up to that moment, you know, and they're like, oh, what is this? This is really exciting. And there's always that next step. And what is that finally?
So that next phase is the open close cart. That's another phase where, again, those conversations are going to be a little bit different than we've had with the pre-launch, the pre-launch, and the launch.
Yeah, and this is really where you get to finally make your offer. Like this is the opportunity for people to make that decision to lean in and want to work with you, whether it's a product, service, coaching program, membership course, whatever it is, real world, online world. This is that moment that you're getting people really excited that, wow, I want to move forward. I want to say yes. Where do I hit the buy button? Where do I make the transaction with you? Now, here's the thing, though. A lot of people stop there.
Yeah, and there's actually 2 more phases here. So right after the open close cart, we have post-launch. So these are the conversations that happen after the launch. So number 1, for the people that have gone through your program and maybe they decide to move forward with you, what kind of conversations are you having with them to onboard them, make them feel comfortable? But then also the kind of conversations that you're having post-launch for people that maybe didn't make that decision to move forward with you. Those kind of conversations are going to be very different.
I just say this is where we see a lot of people fail, is like they just focus solely on the people that bought, that come into their offer. And they like had this rhythm, this launch conversation. They're in this tempo with everybody, and then they like dead stop them. Again, it comes back to that dead end that we talk about a lot. You got people detoured, you got their attention, they're coming through this mechanism with you. And then it's like, oh, okay, you didn't buy, you're not important to me.
Right.
Like, I feel a little damaged.
Yeah, we don't want to leave them out, because also too, eventually that they might be someone that you can nurture later on, that they might want to join you next time.
Yeah, and they're also the perfect people to send a recommendation or referral for you as well. They might not have been ready, willing, and able themselves to purchase in that moment, but it doesn't necessarily mean they don't know somebody else that would be the right aligned person. Now, after that, because kind of like easing people out of that launch, then what happens?
Yes. So the last phase is really ongoing conversations. And this is a phase that just never ends. This is going to be happening all the time. And so those conversations, again, thinking about that bridge, what kind of conversations, how can you bridge people into future offers?
Yeah. And in a way, this kind of then loops full circle back into the pre-launch, as far as where you're then guiding people into that next offer, that next phase. Now, for some people, some products and services, they have a shorter buyer's journey. So this might be a matter of days or weeks or something like that. Sometimes in an impulse buy is like hours or moments. And then for others of us that, that we're building and nurturing a following, this entire process could be over several month period.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really up to you how you want to map this out. But the key here is just to remember there are 6 phases here. And as you go through each of these phases, the conversations are going to vary depending on where your audience is along on the journey.
You know what? 6 phases sounds like a lot. We just covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time. Melissa, is there something that we might be able to guide everybody that's tuning in? Like, is there something that maybe we can potentially help them map this out?
Absolutely. So if you want help with this, we actually have a free download for you. It's our launch conversation calendar. And this is really going to help you map out those conversations, the different types of conversations that you should be having throughout your launch experience. So if you want to go to the show notes, you'll go to the download there and you can grab it and you can start mapping out those conversations, getting really intentional with what kind of conversations you want to have with your audience to lead them to your offer. So again, they're in the show notes, and go ahead and download that calendar.
Now, gone are the days that you had that awkward first date experience with your list that you're like, hi, nice to meet you. Will you marry me? Oh, weird. Let's not talk about that yet, right? We're going to purposely guide people through that pre-launch into the pre-launch, into your actual launch itself, which you'll include on the back end, that open and close cart. That's where we finally make the offer. We're guiding people in. We're at the highest authority, the highest expert status, like people just loving us in that moment in time. Those that want to say yes are going to lean in and say yes. That's the why in the road. We're going to serve and communicate with them in one direction. And those that can't, they're not ready, willing, and able right this second to go into the current offer. Doesn't mean that they never will be a buyer or they won't be a potential source of referrals and recommendations. They're going to go off in a different why, a different direction, fork in the road. And we're still going to continue that post-launch conversation with them. And then we're going to have that ongoing conversation that we're going to have. And all of this can be perfectly mapped out with the incredible download that Melissa just talked about a moment ago.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this was so much fun today. If you love listening to the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We talk all things about marketing and selling and getting our offers out in front of the right people. Make sure you share this with a friend too. We would love to have them join us and listen in. And again, grab that download because that's really going to help you with these launch conversations.
Yes, and until we talk again, remember, marketing matters.
If you would like to work with us and our team to help you snap up more sales and incredible clients with a stellar marketing strategy that works, go to adaptivemembership.com and sign up for our wait list. We have a limited number of spots in our exclusive program to set you up for success and take action. We're waiting for you at adaptivemembership.com.